Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters. PGL Minecraft here with game number 3 between the players aTnCloud up here in the left side. There's no corners on this map, so it makes it more difficult to say that. We're going to say the 9 o'clock position, and down here at the almost 6 o'clock, probably about 7 o'clock position is going to be the teal Terran player Empire.Kas. We see that they are again switching colors back to their original colors, where one is blue and the other is another shade of blue. Which teal is definitely a shade of blue, by the way. There's all these, like, I don't know, there's this funny chart, I don't know if anyone's seen it online, where it's like colors to men, and it's like, it's like all these different like shades of red, like scarlet and amber and stuff like that, and, well, I guess amber is gold, but anyway, and then it's like, and then it groups them all together, and it's like red for men, and I'm definitely that way. This is kind of a, I call it teal, but it's definitely, teal is barely its own color, you know, it's kind of a light bluish green kind of thing. And definitely kind of a weird color too. But this map is going to be Shattered Temple. It is now tied up 1-1. And this is a best of 5, by the way, which I don't think I've mentioned, but it will be in the description, so you'll probably know that already. And we're going to go ahead and see exactly what builds people go with. We saw 2 early gases in the previous rounds, and actually what was normally a macro map, we saw both players be very aggressive and actually trade harassment techniques at the same time. Trade harassment techniques at the exact same time, lose workers at the exact same time. And this map is just going to be a little bit smaller. You can see that our opponents are actually close spawns by air. So Banshee harassment is going to be pretty effective here, as are potentially Blue Flame Hellion drops or other types of drops as well. And it's actually not that far of a map to simply walk. So, you know, that could be so that could be part of it as well. You know, like in terms of some sort of aggressive engagement. One thing Terran players especially like to do, and can be pretty effective there, is put a couple of siege tanks right here with medevac, dropping like 4 or 5 Marines up and then leaving the rest of the Marines down here, and the siege tanks provide cover for the Marines, while the Marines and siege tanks are able to fire at stuff up top, particularly construction buildings. Now, if you were paying attention, you could see that Cloud actually stopped building the barracks and then started building a supply depot here, and he built it about halfway. And the reason he did that was to stop any sort of scouting from coming within his base. And apparently there was a little bit of lag going in, and it looks like an observer had to leave as a result of that lag. Looks like Cloud is going for the 1-Rax gasless fast expand. Meanwhile, Empire.Kas is opting for a Reaper expand. So Cloud's build would just be a little bit more economical, or economic focused, and Empire.Kas's build will just have his tack just a little bit faster, which, you know, could play an important part. His Reaper might do some damage as well. Now, this is actually the first gasless build that we actually see. Reaper taken out without a single kill. Nice job, Marines, as that hurt Marine does get an award. Actually, probably Kas should have stuck around and tried to kill him, but it's always important to try to save that Reaper. The Reaper can be very useful for scouting later in the game. It can be also, 4 Rexes. Are we going to see a 5th? If we see a 5th, I'm going to be very excited. I'll tell you why in just a second. But the Reaper can also be used to take the watchtower. You know, it can be used to scout into your opponent's base later. You can heal it up. It can be used as part of your army, although it's a little harder to control. Okay, so he is building a 5th. Okay, sweet. Okay, so this is probably going to be a timing Marine push in which you just go entirely gasless, and you produce 5 Marines out of this. You expand right away off of 1 barracks, you get both orbitals, and then you just constantly produce 5 Marines out of this. And then what you can do is, you just, when you have about 10, 15 Marines, you send those across for a timing attack. The Marines can usually deal a decent amount of damage, because if your opponent's teching is particularly to something like, you know, Banshees or something like that, or they're expanding really quickly, they don't necessarily have that many forces out, and sometimes this push can actually just kill your opponent. And if it doesn't, the only thing you're behind on is tech, because you already have your expansion, and then you can just go ahead and build your gases and then tech up right away. And you have a bunch of Marines, which Marines are pretty good early game at dealing with things like Banshees, sometimes Hellions as long as you control them correctly, and not really siege tanks if you have siege mode, but normally your attack deals enough damage that you don't really have to worry about that sort of counterattack. And if it doesn't, then that means your attack just fails. So we're going to have to go ahead and see exactly how much damage he's going to be doing to his opponent. It looks like Empire.Kas is actually fairly weak right now, although he is going to have 2 more reactors on his barracks, I suppose. So if he produces 5 Marines right now, he might be in okay position. This barracks bunker, though, might not be finished. Okay, so he does have 9 Marines right now. He's got additional Marines streaming across. Looks like he was able to snipe the SCV almost immediately. Kaz is definitely going to have to pull his SCVs to be able to deal with this. Canceled barracks or canceled bunker right there. And this is going to have to rely on some very nice control from Kaz. Looks like Kaz is actually just going to run up into his base, but he's taking a lot of losses as he does so. The Marines are now marching up, however. A bunch of SCVs are taking out. They are tanking a lot of damage as well. Looks like Cloud is just going to march in and see how many Marines he can actually take out. Looks like he is able to take out almost all of his opponent's Marines right there. But these reactor barracks are producing more Marines, so it looks like Empire.Kas should be able to hold this off from here. However, a lot of damage has been dealt. Workers Lost tab tells us that he's actually killed 12 workers. That's a very successful attack right now. And he does have, let's see, 2 refineries up right now. I don't want to go back. I'm just looking at the mini-map. Or is it? It might just be 1 refinery up right now. Alright, looks like... Ooh, Stim is now done for Empire.Kas, so he should be able to clean this up pretty easily, and the rest of Cloud's forces should be able to go ahead and head home. Go ahead and check out. He does have... Yep, he did have both refineries up. He does have 2 additional refineries on the way, so he should be taking up pretty quickly right now. He is building a bunker to be able to better protect himself, and he should be ahead on economy right now. As we do see from the income tab, he is actually ahead by 12, which, interestingly enough, is the exact... Actually, he killed 15 workers. Never mind. I was going to say the exact number of workers he killed, but he only killed 12. He killed 15, and he's only up by 12. Looks like there is going to be a counterattack near. Now, these Marines do have Stim, but they do not have Combat Shield. They will not quite have Combat Shield unless he waits a little bit for this attack. However, this bunker, as well as these Marines, will probably be able to hold this off as long as some SCVs get pulled, possibly from Cloud. Looks like that bunker is going to be canceled, and Kaz is probably going to decide not to attack. He might decide to attack right as soon as Combat Shield finishes. We're going to see it in a minute, and actually it looks like he is actually opting to go ahead and do that. Cloud, meanwhile, is oblivious to this attack right now. He saw the forces bouncing around up here, but he didn't see if they went home or not. So he is sending an SCV out to see exactly what's happening. He should pull some SCVs to be able to help deal with this. This SCV wall is, this supply depot wall is actually being pretty effective right now, and looks like Kaz is trading pretty favorably. However, it looks like Cloud just had too many Marines at that point in time, and Combat Shield and Stim are just not quite going to be able to do enough, as Cloud was able to clean up the rest of those forces. It's also worth noting that a number of Empire.Kas's Marines were already injured from previous engagements. So, let's go to the Units tab. We see that Kaz is up ahead by 7 Marines, which is a pretty substantial advantage. However, Combat Shield is now done for Cloud. He's got Stim and weapons on the way, and he has that bunker for defense, which is why you see him expanding right now in order to make sure he maintains his economic lead. And it looks like both players are going to be opting for Marines right now, and they will be transitioning into Marine tank later, almost certainly, possibly even into full mech later. And actually both players are actually transitioning both into the golds as well, as that's a pretty easy expansion to hold in a Terran versus Terran, simply because you can build a planetary fortress to prevent any sort of Marine drops from going down. Sometimes you just want the orbital as well, and I mean, if they have siege tanks on the expansion, then you're probably going to be dead anyway because they have your natural lockdown as well. So, Cloud seems to be in a pretty good position. However, it's worth noting that he is actually behind by supply just a little bit. I think his tech has actually caught up and actually surpassed his opponent, as you can see that these gases are just going up right now for Empire.Kas, and he does have medevacs and siege tanks, as well as siege mode on the way. However, we do have engineering bay and armory up on the way. Cloud's expansion is just finished, as well as, how many barracks is that? Whew, he's got 7 barracks, 4 reactors, 2 tech labs, and 1 nothing, which will probably eventually turn into something. He also has the same number of tech factories and is going to be getting double upgrades as soon as this armory finishes, as his +1 is already done, and it'll start +2 right now. He's also banking a large number of resources, actually, and he should probably be aiming to spend those. He probably could be opting to start getting siege tanks off of his factories. That's always important in a Terran versus Terran matchup, as siege tanks are so incredibly good. Looks like he is opting for a planetary fortress, just wants to be perfectly safe at this expansion. He does have, probably wants to transfer some SCVs, and as I say that, he go ahead and transfers them. Looks like Empire.Kas does have a siege tank advantage, up 2-0 siege tanks, same number of Marines, and the Marines are actually better upgraded for Kaz at this point in time. So Kaz should be in a pretty good position here. He's going to want to, he's just going to stim and go for the planetary fortress, as well as sieging up his tank at the time. Looks like he is going to try to focus fire down, and should be able to take it out. Oh my god, barely saves his expansion. However, Cloud loses a lot of SCVs right there. Meanwhile, Marines from behind are going to be able to take out the siege tanks. The siege tanks, meanwhile, did do a lot of damage to those Marines, which Empire.Kas' Marines were able to then clean up. Cloud's Marines should be able to focus fire those medevacs. However, additional reinforcements from Cloud are going to be able to move in and take out the rest of those Marines. So, going to want to repair that, is repairing it. Let's go to the units. Workers lost tab. Okay, so now Kas has killed more workers. He's killed 20. If we go to the workers tab, Kas is now up ahead on workers. However, there are a lot of banked resources for Cloud right now. And actually, he's probably going to want to, I would go into double factory and start producing a lot of siege tanks. I think he's aiming for pure bio, but I would think that that is not a very good idea at this point in time, as siege tanks are just so incredibly potent in the Terran versus Terran matchup. Looks like Empire.Kas is going to be aiming for a little attack right here, and not a little attack, this is a relatively sizable attack. He does have the siege tank up against that wall. We'll be able to start sieging that reactor right now, and we're going to have to see how Cloud ends up responding to this. I was going to say reacting to this. Play on words. An additional siege tank is going to be sieged up here. However, these Marines from behind will be able to focus down that siege tank very rapidly, as takes it down, takes down the medevac as well as the second siege tank, and is going to be able to clean up most of those Marines, as well as additional Marine reinforcements should be able to take out the rest of those. Looks like all he got for those forces. Wow, that was a really favorable trade for Cloud right there, as Cloud is now actually still behind on units lost. However, his economy was much improved over the previous amount of time. However, he is still down by 10 supply. And, okay, so his upgrades are, he's already starting +3, was opponent starting +2. +2 armor is tied. His opponent is actually getting weapons for his tanks and starting a 4th expansion right now, whereas Cloud is not starting a 4th expansion. He's also getting 4 new barracks, which I think would put him on similar numbers to Cloud, as I don't think he has more than 7 barracks, does he? Let's see here. He's got 6. Oh, actually, no, he's going to have 10 barracks once that starts. Let's go ahead and click on all of those so you can marvel at how many barracks Empire.Kas is going to have. So actually, Kas looks like he's in a pretty commanding position at this point in time, as he is now up by 30 supply. Very impressive, really, actually, the way he was able to come back from that, as it shows you just kind of how important one bad engagement can really screw you over in a Terran versus Terran. Looks like Kas's Marine was also the victor right there, able to save the SCV that was building that building the command center right there. Looks like we're going to have a huge drop going into Empire.Kas's base right now. 4 full medevacs full of Marines. We're going to have to see exactly how Kas deals with this, as he didn't have anything in his base. No turret rings, no siege tanks up there, so he's going to have to deal with this entirely with Marines. He's got siege tanks on the front to be able to protect the front, but it looks like Cloud actually just has more Marines right there, so I think Cloud's doing pretty well. 1 siege tank shot did deal a decent amount of damage. Looks like, oh no, that's the siege tank. I was able to deal a lot of damage. He's going to want to put his Marines on top of that siege tank, not able to do that in time. So it looks like Kas was able to clean that up. However, a decent amount of damage. Units lost tab is now about tied. Looks like Cloud is going to be moving in. He doesn't want to move into range of that siege tank, but he will be able to probably focus fire this command center to death. +3 weapons isn't done, but +2 weapons deals damage very, very rapidly into this command center. Nice scoot and shoot micro is going to take out that command center, as well as the SCV that was hiding inside this command center is going to go down as well before it upgrades. So Cloud actually able to retake his kind of leading economics position. Not quite sure why Kas is not deciding to respond to this right now. He did cancel the upgrade for the planetary fortress, and actually I just learned something new. And what I just learned was, based on that new animation from Blizzard, is that you actually don't, if you're upgrading a building, you actually don't get your full resources back. Which actually makes sense, because you don't get your full resources back if you're upgrading a baneling and then cancel it. You only get the 3/4 that you get for buildings. So, upgrades give you full things, give you full resources back when you cancel them, but upgrading the building itself does not. It only gives you 3/4 back. So that's important to know. Thank you, Blizzard, for installing the new terminology, so we were able to check that out. Not the terminology, I suppose, the animation. Looks like he's way, way oversaturated here, so those lack of expansions is really going to hurt him. He's probably going to want to bust these rocks. In fact, that's exactly what he's doing. These barracks are kind of in the way. He's going to have to micro those forces. Looks like another observer has left, and a gigantic drop for Cloud is going to be on the way. He's probably going to scoot right outside of the range of that sensor tower. We can see from Empire.Kas' vision that he says, oh crap, so many forces coming in. There is a drop for Kas right there that did just get cleaned up. We're going to go ahead and see. Looks like he got a decent amount of workers in that drop, but this is so many Marines inside of his base, and these Marines are 3-2 Marines right now. They're doing so much damage, killing so many production facilities, able to take out all of Empire.Kas' tech, and able to take the command center out as well. I'm kind of surprised that Kas was not better prepared for this, as he did actually, that did happen to him before. There are a ton of siege tanks over here, which should be able to help Kas very much to be able to clean up this drop. However, there's so many resources right now, and there was a kind of minor turret ring. However, that turret ring, if it had extended all the way across, would have been very helpful in order to be able to stop that sort of thing from happening to him again. Also, a sensor tower over here would have warned him of coming. Actually, a sensor tower here is actually, I mean, it's pretty useful for controlling the middle, but it's not useful for seeing any sort of drops coming in, which is really what's sort of dangerous in these heavy marine versus heavy marine contests. Just because 3-2 marines deal damage so quickly, it looks like these siege tanks are caught unsieged. And a lot of siege tanks were being able to be taken out. Looks like Kas is going to be able to win that engagement, and actually he's winning on the supply war right now, and may be able to take out some of these medevacs as well. Not quite able to take out a lot of very weakened medevacs right there, as reinforcement marines are just streaming across Cloud, building 18 marines at once, showing how impressive it is when you go only marines and you just upgrade them super heavily. And actually, you should probably upgrade armor level 3. Not quite sure if he's noticed that he hasn't upgraded that, as he does have the resources to be able to do that, and it'd be quite invaluable. Upgrades are so important in these Terran versus Terran matchups, especially with tons and tons of marines. And I mean, really, upgrades are important in any matchup in general. Alright, so it looks like Cloud has secured his next expansion. Empire.Kas is just going up right now. He is dropping so many mules right now because he was actually out of places to mine. Well, actually, he did have a decent amount of resources there, but the gold mines very quickly. And as I think a Terran player will tell you, you should always mine from the gold first, as it gives you the most amount of resources. Of course, it slows you down later. Looks like Kas has 4 new factories coming in, so he's probably going to aim to be transitioning into some sort of mech style. Looks like his opponent is thinking of doing the same, as he has started vehicle weapons. However, I don't think he has any siege tanks yet, does he? He does not have any siege tanks. But look at that marine lead right now. 68 marines to 27. However, it is 6 siege tanks down to 0 siege tanks, but 10 medevacs for Cloud means that he's actually probably has the stronger army at this point in time. However, it is worth noting that now Kas's marines are 3-3, so they are quite important in this sort of engagement. Looks like he doesn't have any marines in front of his siege tanks, though, so they will be picked off almost immediately. His grouping is pretty bad, so he's taking a lot of damage from siege tanks, but it might not matter because he just has so many marines right now, able to just simply melt through Cloud's marines and his siege tanks, and is able to just slide on through all of the siege tanks lines, which shows you how good marines are. Basically, marines are always good, but I mean, but it's also important because Kas was cut out of position in that last engagement. If he had his marines in front of his siege tanks, then he would have been able to deal a lot more damage before his siege tanks got taken out by his opponent's marines, as there's no way that Cloud would be able to run up and shoot the siege tanks, as if he does, then he's just going to lose all of his marines right away, because marines kill each other so fast when they're being stimmed, and, you know, they just deal so much damage. But very interesting game. I actually... it's been a very long time since I've seen pure marine actually do anything. That was really incredible. And I can't believe he's just stuck to pure marine. And I even said that I disagreed with that decision. But he managed to spend all of his gas. He just got tons and tons of medevacs, and those medevacs are extremely useful. Look at this. Look at how empty this base is, because he was able to drop in and just melt everything in like 30 seconds, just kill like 3 or 4 barracks, a factory, a starport, and an orbital command, and a bunch of SCVs as well. So very terrific game, actually, by both players, and particularly by Cloud, as, I mean, those drops were just absolutely killer, and Empire.Kas certainly made a mistake by not being better prepared, especially for that second drop, as he knew that he saw the first drop, he knew he was vulnerable to that, but he didn't keep any units back. He didn't have a turret ring that fully went around so that he could better defend against those sorts of things. Although it's worth noting that the part of the reason you don't get the turrets around like these little open areas is like all you have to do is fly your medevacs near, then use your marines to take them out. But that is something, I mean, that's something that you can respond to if they're doing that. So I would say it's still worth getting a full turret ring around. But very good game, and we're going to go ahead and move on to game number 4. aTnCloud at a 2-1 lead right now. This is PGL Mooncraft signing off.